Chad Hufford is the founder and leader of a financial planning firm in Anchorage, Alaska, managing approximately $500 million in assets. What sets Chad apart is his holistic approach to financial planning. With a background in athletics, nutrition, and performance psychology, he brings a coaching mindset to wealth management, helping his clients to build not just financial security, but a resilient and empowered outlook on money. Chad has previously shared his insights on cultivating an abundance mindset on this show, and his wisdom continues to resonate with our listeners. So I thought it was time to reconnect and to discuss some of the recent global developments and what thoughts he has to share with us. Welcome to our show, Chad. So good to have you again.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me back and looking forward to encouraging your audience and helping them pursue a more abundant life.
There have been so much shifts in geopolitical and economic developments, and things seem to be happening so fast. We've got two major conflicts in the world, Ukraine and the Middle East, and many people are quite concerned about their stock portfolios, their savings, their retirement plans. What do we need to know looking at the year ahead?
I think one of the most important things is focusing on what you can control and keeping at least at arm's length. Maybe you don't ignore it completely, but keeping at arm's length the things that you can't control. And here's what I mean. World conflicts, election cycles. I mean, we have a new president here in the United States, interest rates, economic developments, all those things matter, but I can't control any of them. And too often we spend a lot of our time and energy following all the things we can't do, and what it does is can actually create a state of learned helplessness where I keep telling myself all the things that matters to my family, my future, are things I can't control. Geopolitical events, economic storms, all these different things, wars in the Middle East, like you already mentioned. And we get to a place where we feel like we can't act on our own future. So I think the most important thing for people to do is to come up with a plan. So they have a financial plan, a blueprint, if you will, connecting where they are today with where they want to be in the future. And it gives them something to act on, so they're less likely to react to the crazy world around us. Because everything you're saying absolutely matters, but we can't do anything about it. So we want to make sure that we don't overlook what we can do to make our lives better and create a more fulfilling future.
You just mentioned such an important point because I firmly believe that when we are in fear and anxiety, we make terrible decisions.
We do. Yeah. If you want to see what emotional decision making looks like, just talk to a teenager, right? I mean, and all of our decisions are definitely emotionally instigated. I mean, there's emotions are part we can't Warren Buffett might be the only guy on the planet that can make major financial decisions and have no emotions about it. You're not him, I'm not him, nobody listening is him. And Warren, if you are listening, we're very impressed by what you're doing. But but the point is, emotions are a part of the choices that we're making. We have to be aware of them, but also be aware of our own biases and try to, again, this is where having a plan is really important. It allows our emotions to take a back seat while we're trying to put this puzzle together. It's a rational plan based off of strategy and logic, and it doesn't prevent our emotions from taking control, but what it does do is it gives the rational part of our brain a chance to catch up,
Mhm.
so the emotional part of our brain doesn't take over. The amygdala, which is one of the parts of the brain, this little almond shaped part of the brain that kind of hangs down towards the center, and it's out there looking for saber-toothed tigers, and if it can't find a saber-toothed tiger, it'll find something else that we should be worried about. And it's important. It keeps us alive. I mean, fear is not a bad thing, but when fear takes over as anxiety and it starts dictating our decisions and the direction in which we live our lives, that's when it becomes a problem.
What would such a plan look like?
Okay. Great question. So one of the first things, first things we ask people, and I just asked somebody this about 15 minutes before I came on your podcast. I asked, how much money would you need showing up every single month to live comfortably without a paycheck? You know, how much income would you need from your investments, from your pensions to not survive, but to live a desired lifestyle without having to go to work? And there's two reasons for this. Number one is this isn't about retiring and quitting your job. This is about living life on your terms and getting to a place of financial independence where you do not have to go to work. But like folks like you and I, we can never retire. There's too much impact. There's too many things that we want to still do, but financial independence gives us more freedom to be active and to make an impact, not less. We're not going to sit around and watch daytime television all day. But the other thing is it forces us to look at the future. One of the things that you mentioned is all these things going on in our world. All those things distract us from our own future plans. It'd be like trying to build a house, your dream house, and instead of actually looking at the blueprint, you're always focused on the weather report. And now the weather report, yeah, it matters. It can maybe make the construction process longer, but it probably isn't going to change the plans for your home. It might disrupt, it might help, there might be some setbacks there, but ultimately your financial house should be dictated by your long-term goals. So by having this blueprint, this financial blueprint, it pulls people out of the moment and gives them freedom to dream a little bit. Like, what do you want your future to look like? What would your life look like if you never needed to go to work ever again? What do you want to be doing? Who do you want to be spending your time with? What kind of person do you want to become? So getting them more future focused is the first step, and having a meaningful measurable target. That target income, and we call it a work optional income target. The amount of money that you would need coming from your investments to replace your paycheck. Then what we do is we reverse engineer that from where they want to be to where they are today. So they actually have a blueprint to follow because sometimes those goals can be overwhelming. It can seem like, oh, that's such a heavy lift. And then it feels like future me, that's Chad's problem in the future, not right now. But what a financial blueprint also does, it not only connects the future to today, it breaks down that long-term goal into meaningful bite-sized chunks so every day matters.
Yeah, it's ultimately all about having positive habits. Can you just explain for us the difference in your view from a scarcity to an abundance mindset?
Well, first of all, I want to touch on the habits. It's absolutely all about habits. Wealth is not something that's created in a moment. And for the rare exceptions where it is, people rarely hang on to it. People who get rich quickly usually lose it fairly fast as well. So this isn't about get rich quick. It's about building meaningful, sustainable wealth
Mm.
slowly. And it is all about habits. So it's not the thing you do one day, it's the thing you do every day. I know that you're very concerned about your health and you take good care of yourself, but you can't you can't eat garbage and treat your body poorly for 6 months and then go work out for 10 hours and then meditate for another 10 and stretch for another 10 after that and expect everything to fix itself. It takes daily consistent action. And that's where this a financial blueprint, again, it makes every day matter. We're looking at, okay, here's my long-term goal out in the future. In order to reach that, maybe I need to save $1,000 a month. Well, now I'm not so worried about accumulating $2 million, whatever my personal target is. But it's about every month is a victory if I can pay my future self $1,000. So I need to create a habit of essentially it's about what $30 a month, 33 or sorry, $30 a day, a little more than that, right? So now every day matters. I have to make habitual changes. Maybe it's not going out to eat as much. Maybe it's not getting the coffee. Maybe it's canceling the subscription. I have to change my daily habits to align with where I want to be in 20 years. The other thing, so you mentioned scarcity mindset versus abundance. Another thing that's important about having meaningful strategic goals. Now, number one, I want people listening to realize these goals will change and evolve. It's It's actually less important how accurate they are and more important that you have them and that you revise them. So as you get closer to that destination, you become more clear about what it needs to be. And sometimes that destination shifts and you need to reroute your course. Your financial blueprint needs to be updated and clarified. I just did this with somebody yesterday. We've been working together for 10 years. His goals changed, so we need to change his plan. What that does, it gives you something finite. There is a finite amount of money that you and I both need to sustain our lifestyles. Without that, there's always more. You can always, Randall, you can always make more money. You can always save more money. You can always put more money towards your future. But sometimes people do that at the expense of their present. They're always paying their future self, which is important, but there's no balance. And too often I meet people who spend their 30s, 40s, and 50s sacrificing their health and relationships to build wealth. Then I meet them when they're in their 60s or 70s trying to spend their wealth to buy back their health and relationships. You and I both know that doesn't work very well. Focusing on finite numbers allows us to have what a lot of people don't have, and that is enough. There's a sense of, okay, for this month, I've met my goal, I've met my target. This is a win. I can actually be present in the moment too. And because it's hard, it's very hard to balance building your future and staying present in the moment. So that's a lot to throw at you. I have one more thought on that, but any questions? That makes sense how I'm explaining it.
Yeah, absolutely. Delayed gratification issue is difficult to follow sometimes, especially I mean it starts in early childhood, really, where you cultivate that habit of delayed gratification. And what I find so sad, really, is what you just mentioned, that the emphasis is so much on the accumulation of financial security, the things, the house, the
Hmm.
car, whatever. And there's no positive plan, no health plan to enjoy that wealth once you go into retirement.
There's so much you just said. We could talk for an hour about what you just said in those last few seconds. So, number one, I think a lot of people they know what they're retiring from, but not what they're retiring to. They don't have a plan for what they want their life to look like. They just know they don't want to work forever. Well, quitting your job is not a big enough goal. It should be about pursuing a new life of freedom, abundance, and impact, not about just not having to go to work. We need to raise the bar on what retirement looks like. The other thing that you said is this delay gratification. It's important, but there has to be a balance. And this is where I think gratitude comes in because when we were growing up, and you might just be a tad more seasoned than me, but we both grew up in a different time where we didn't have social media, and keeping up with the Joneses meant the people on your street and the people in your circle. Now, keeping up with the Joneses is comparing your average day with somebody's best day across the globe and only what they want you to see. And so keeping up with the Joneses is more intense than it ever has been. You can compare yourself to people you have no business comparing yourself to. And here's where something that you said is really interesting. Not even sure if it was intentional or not. But you talked about cars and houses and things and financial security. What we've done, so I think human beings have always chased wealth. They've always chased money. And I believe personally that money is a tool. It should never be the goal. It is a tool that we use to build a better life, to build our financial house, to build security, and to bless and impact others. If money ever becomes the goal in and of itself, we're on a really dangerous path. And what you said is so true. People are looking at cars and jewelry and the things that money buys. That's not even wealth. That's actually the opposite of wealth. It's the opposite of financial security. That's the spending of money. So in today's society, we're not even chasing wealth anymore. We're chasing consumption. And and what we're doing, and our kids that are watching this on TikTok and social media, they're seeing people spending money and thinking that's what wealth and financial independence looks like, it when in fact it's the very opposite. It's the actual unraveling of wealth that we are celebrating now in our society. The fast cars and the expensive vacations and the $2,000 handbags. And some of these people that society is watching have unsustainable habits. And their bad habits are going to be their ruin because they never have enough.
How do you change this messaging? Because so many people are living from paycheck to paycheck just because of this consumerism, and where a message has been put out there that happiness is equal to having the things and not finding purpose and meaning in life.
Happiness, I believe, is an external thing. Happiness is something you get from what's going on around you, your circumstances, the scenario you find yourself in. Joy is something that comes more from within. Satisfaction is something, fulfillment is something that comes more from within. And if you think about it, your satisfaction, your contentment is what you have divided by what you need or by your wants. But what we do is we focus on the top part of that equation. We focus on the numerator, not the denominator. So we try to keep adding to the top more of what we have instead of managing our desires. And here's how I think we should do that. So again, to clarify that, satisfaction, fulfillment is what you want divided by what you have or divided by your desires. And this is where gratitude is so essential. It has to be a regular part of our practice. And one of the things I do every morning, and did it this morning, I write down three things I'm grateful for. And sometimes they're very profound, and sometimes they're very simple. I live here in Anchorage, Alaska. The weather can be a little bit nasty. We had some terrible storms a couple weeks ago. One of the things I wrote I was thankful for is electricity because we didn't have it for a couple days. And sometimes it's we actually had a shooting 2 days ago. There was a shooting right outside our office. We actually watched it happen, and I was so grateful just for safety that my daughter who works in our office and my sister who works right down the hall, like everybody here was safe. So sometimes it's very, very profound, and sometimes it's very, very simple. It might be a meal I had yesterday, but here's where gratitude is so important. Gratitude is a discipline. It's a habit, as you mentioned. It's a discipline that keeps our focus on what we already have rather than on what we think we want. So it draws our attention to the blessings that are already in our life, not the things that we think are missing. And to live within our means and to be able to plan for the future, I think gratitude is absolutely essential. Otherwise, we're on that hamster wheel of more, 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 more.
I agree, absolutely. I do it myself as well. Simply being grateful for the sunshine, the blue sky, the vegetation around me here on this beautiful island of Mallorca, and talking about that shooting. I mean, I'm from South Africa. I know all about it. So safety is another thing you can be really, really grateful for. Let's look at another issue that I've been thinking about is the people you surround yourself with. I mean,
Yes.
like competing with the Joneses is not going to do it.
No, it's
How,
not.
how,
And so I think accountability is a huge piece because we are going against the grain. We're swimming upstream, so to speak. Again, living in Alaska, we have salmon swim upstream. They fight against the tide, right? But that's what we're doing, and it's hard to do that alone. So I think it's important to have people in our circle that care about our future almost as much as we do, because there's going to be those times when our present overwhelms our future. And those people are going to remind us, hey, are your actions today aligning with the future that you said you wanted? Are you stealing from or are you serving the future version of yourself? Did you get that workout in today? I saw you walking away from the break room with two handfuls of cake. Is that really aligning with the diet that you in the health of your body you said you wanted for yourself? We have to surround ourselves with people who are on this journey with us to cheer us on, but to also have tough conversations and hold us accountable when we drift off the path.
yeah, I mean, I can relate. We all fall into that trap of falling back into bad habits. And my lovely partner, she always reminds me, well, uh, just leave that and let's have a different meal. And you need to do your exercise today. We need to go for a walk.
It is, and one thing that's hard about it too is when you start making changes for your life, when you start becoming more intentional about your future, you start making sacrifices for the future, you start being more present, you spend less time on your phone and actually noticing the world around you and being grateful for the blessings in your life. That's so different from how a lot of people operate that the average people around you will actually try to distract you from that journey because as you grow as a person, it reminds them of what they could do. It kind of goes back to the learned helplessness that we started this conversation with. If I see somebody who is shrugging off the victim role and says, I'm going to make a dent in the world today. I'm going to start taking responsibility for my life, making a difference, start making new choices, new habits because I want a better future for myself and for my family. Somebody watching that is like, well, if they're doing it, I could do it too. It's actually easier for me to hold that person back than to make those changes in my own life. So average people around us, sometimes it's even our own family members, will actually hold us, they'll try to pull us down because as you grow, as you shrug off that victim role, it actually makes it more apparent to them how they are still shrouded in that victim role and that they're not living the life that they could. And I'm not saying that you cut all these people out of your life. Again, sometimes they're our own family members, but we have to be aware of that and making sure that we balance time with folks who might be holding us back with folks that are pushing us forward.
What really fascinated me about our last conversation was that a lot of your clients are ordinary people, firemen, teachers, coming from ordinary life, but have this positive habit of having a clear plan and clear mindset of where they want to be.
They are. We work with a lot of blue collar folks, a lot of people in the oil industry, welders, plumbers, pipe fitters, electricians, a lot of law enforcement, firefighters. You said teachers. The guy I met with yesterday, we had to readjust his plan. He's a teacher here at the university, and but they're like you said, relatively ordinary people. They don't make tons of money, but they make good decisions. And they have good jobs, not great jobs, but they're intentional with where that money goes because just like any tool, it's not just about how much you have of that tool. It's the quality of the use. It's how carefully you use that tool. So you could buy me paintbrushes and paint, all these art supplies and the most expensive canvas that money can buy. And you know what? I still can't paint worth a darn. And if I paint you something, it's going to look like a 5-year-old did it. And then you can buy me even more and more paint and paintbrushes and things like that, and it's not going to fix it because I individually have to change. And I think a lot of people in our world think poor money management is fixed by more money, and it's not. You can't out earn bad financial management. You have to change your behavior, your habits, and actually be a better steward of what's already in your life, the money you're already making. Otherwise, if you make more money, that's going to be squandered away too. So it's regular people with regular jobs who have an unnatural inclination towards excellence, who want a better life for themselves and are willing to do the hard work to get it. Those are the ones that I see succeed.
Yeah, it's such a great message, especially for those folk out there who have this belief or have inculcated this belief, not possible for me. I'll never make
Yes.
it because of this, because of that. It's so fascinating that there's hope. There are means, there are tools available to improve your life and your joy in life by following a plan. And this is why I think your wisdom is so great. Your message is so great, and I again want to acknowledge you for that.
Well, I appreciate that. And again, I thank you for the opportunity to come back on and chat with you. It's always this is our we've had a few conversations over the past year and a half, some recorded, some not, but I'm encouraged every time I talk to you. So this has been a blessing to me and a great opportunity to share with your audience. I hope they're encouraged as well.